first video is going to be me making a surge syrup, where simply I'll be reducing surge to 1/4 its volume, and I'll also be doing a surge candy where I heat some of that surge syrup additionally to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and then pour it out into a glass bowl and let it crystallize and cool down. It doesn't really make a hard candy. It stays pretty soft and flimsy since it's mostly based on corn syrup, but we're going to be doing that right now. So I've got a weight of this pan. The pan itself weighs about 746 grams. I'm just going to be going on mass, that way I can take the pan from here to here and continue to weigh it to see if I'm at my target, because I want to reduce this down to 1/4. So 744 grams. Let's just chuck in a container of surge here. Nice green color. So we're up to 1,245 grams. Let's put another one in there. So a cup is roughly 250 milliliters at a density of about 1.0. That means every 250 grams is about 1 cup of surge. So 2 containers of surge. 473 mils, so each of these is about 2 cups, 16 fluid ounces. Yeah, I better put another half one in there or so. I can always drink the rest. $19.04 grams. That's good. So I'm going to put down a gross weight of 1905 grams. And then I'm going to reduce this down to 1/4. So I sped this up about 48x. I was trying to show the evaporation in a reasonable amount of time, because no one wants to watch it happen that quickly. I have a dial thermometer in the corner reading out in degrees Fahrenheit. One of the interesting things about this is that I'm measuring the temperature, and I was measuring the weight. And I found out that at about 220, 222 degrees is where the material's at the syrup stage. So someone doing this at home can stop at that point rather than trying to weigh the material out and trying to see, hey, am I at my target yet? One of the other things I wondered is, if I did this under vacuum, would I help prevent the caramelization? But who has a vacuum pump at home to give that a shot? But if you did that, you could prevent the caramelization, which does affect the flavor somewhat adversely, especially once you get to the candy stage. You can also taste it in the syrup stage, but not as much. So in the moment, I'm going to pull it off, and you'll see me weigh it out, and I've removed the syrup. And once I remove the syrup, you can watch the temperature climb to that candy stage very rapidly. And it's really easy to go over that target. Here you can see how dark the syrup has become as it's reached that candy stage and started to caramelize. There's 70 grams of material in that pan. That's half of what I originally put in, because I pulled a little over half out of the syrup. So it definitely concentrated down significantly. And I pour it into this glass pan here, and we have to do that before it starts to harden, otherwise you run into issues with trying to get it out of the pan. And then once it's in the pan, spread it out, give it more surface area, help you break it up later. And one of the things they do in candy making is usually dust it with powdered sugar, which helps you get it out of there, which I didn't do here and I regret. But it's definitely a lot darker. So as I'm letting it cool down, I bring out this cup here of the syrup for comparison in terms of color, and definitely dark green versus something brown. In case you're wondering how the concentration turned out, there's the concentrated surge. This actually has some faint smell of surge still. You can taste it, and definitely has some surge taste to it. You can taste a little bit of that caramelization from the heat, but not much of it. So this is still a good representation of surge. However, the candied surge is mostly for looks and for bragging rights, to say you have candied surge. It has some nice crackle to it, but at this point, if you stop it just in time, just before it reaches 300, it kind of tastes a little bit like cotton candy. but definitely not like Surge anymore. This one just ever so slightly too long, and that happens very rapidly. And when that happens, it starts to acquire this darker color. And once it hits that stage, it tastes sweet, yes, but there's definitely some bitter notes to it. You wonder if that's just, the caffeine, even though it's only a couple tens of milligrams per container, does it really affect the taste that much? Is the bitterness from that? Is it from, the dyes breaking down? Is it from any of those other things? But no, this isn't very good in terms of taste. So when I have used this in the past, I've used it for texture, chopped it up real fine, and kind of sprinkled it on top of something. But for bragging rights, it's good for that. But otherwise, I definitely wouldn't take this with me in a baggie and just